Hey everyone, welcome. Okay, everyone's popping in. Feel free to pop in the chat and say hi. I'm Sonia Highfield. I'm going to be co-hosting this session today. But we have Gina here. We have our awesome guest, Brittany.
Yeah.
So I will invite you to mute yourselves if you're not already muted, but pop in
Right.
and say hello.
Kids. That's terrible. But that's horrible. That's one of his.
So, hi Brittany.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. And thank you everyone for popping in. It's good to see all your faces, if I've seen them before, or some of them are new to me. Um, so welcome everyone. Get comfortable and we will get kicked off. And let's see, I don't think I have the ability to mute anyone. So if you're joining us, but not Brittany and not on mute, then please go ahead and mute yourselves now so we can get started. And I hope everyone is having a beautiful start to their Wednesday. So this is our Babe Crafted talk today with Brittany Ranew, who is going to be talking all about pursuing life as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Such a good topic. I'm super excited about it because I am also very multi-passionate. So I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us. And I'll give a little intro for Brittany, and then we'll kind of go over what our chat's going to be like today. And then we'll let Brittany take it away with some questions. And yeah, we'll dive in. So, okay, as a realtor, author, and podcast host, Brittany believes in immersing herself in the culture where she lives and works to help others thrive in the Sunshine City of St. Petersburg, Florida. She believes it's not simply about buying or selling a home, but about building community. So awesome and beautiful. And I know all of us in Babe Crafted are all about that community life. So a little bit about the talk today, in case you haven't attended one of these before. We're going to give you some exercises to do throughout the hour. We also are going to have a chance for someone to win a gift card to your favorite coffee or tea shop. So stay tuned for that. And then at the end, Brittany will answer questions and we'll have discussion. And I'm going to try and take deep breaths because I'm very pregnant and it is hard to breathe. So excuse me if I'm panting at you, but I'd love to invite everyone who's here live to your first exercise of the chat, which is to pop in and introduce yourself in the chat box and tell us what you are passionate about. And no limit to the things that you can list there, as we're here to talk about being multi-passionate. And as you all are doing that, I am going to let Brittany kick us off and tell us about yourself, your background, your businesses, and all the important things we need to know.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm excited to be here and I love the Babe Crafted community. It really is a community. So, thanks to Gina for being our fearless leader. I always learn so much. So yeah, I am a realtor by day and author by night, I guess, at this point in my life. I started my real estate business about 10 years ago in Mobile, Alabama, which is where I am from originally. My husband and I moved to St. Pete in 2015. So that was a really big transition. Not going to lie, it was very tough because we didn't know anyone. So diving into the community and meeting people was my number one priority. So after probably about a year, I felt like we finally kind of settled and it really felt like home. So I fell in love with St. Pete and really just dove into the community and the culture, which is why I started my podcast, St. Pete Soul, because I wanted to give back to our small business community and celebrate what makes St. Pete so special, which is why people live and move here in the first place. But I've always had a passion for writing. I have a background in music and in creative writing. And I had started a novel I had started a novel back in 2008, 2009, and I finished the first like real draft of it where I felt like it was ready in 2013. So I did query literary agents at that time and didn't have any success. So I had just started my real estate business. I was exploring this idea of publishing a book, and it felt a little overwhelming, to be honest. So I focused on real estate, kind of got busy with life, didn't touch the book for a number of years, got back into the book in 2020, which, again, thanks COVID. I feel like in COVID, a lot of people realized some things that they were not pursuing that made them happy. So I started pursuing the book again, and I'm proud to say that it is publishing next Wednesday on October 4th with St. Petersburg Press. So
Amazing. Congratulations. Oh, that's so exciting.
yeah. So a full circle moment, really, with being 10 years from when I was trying to publish it and get my real estate career off the ground, which, my real estate career is what has enabled me to get to this point. So yeah, it's all very cool.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I always think it's so interesting to hear people's backgrounds, and, it's never a straight line how we end up where we are, right?
No, it never is. You think it's going to be, but it's not.
Yeah. And thank you for everyone who's sharing in the chat what you're passionate about. So I'll just read a couple while we're here. Chanel says she's passionate about creating art, empowering women, collaborating with other creatives, poetry, and prose writing. Carrie says she's passionate about inspiring others to find their unique stories and to find the courage to do so in whatever form they choose. Awesome. No worries about being off camera. Nicole says she's passionate about creating and exploring beautiful things in life, places, homes, etc., traveling, dog rescues, yoga, and reading. Yes. All good things. Awesome. Okay. So, Brittany, as you're now an established multi-passionate, did you ever in the past feel, or maybe currently feel, the pressure to commit to like just one thing, just one path? And yeah, we'll take that question first, and then we'll see where we go.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say yes, for sure. I don't feel like I struggle with that as much now because I've kind of come into my own with that. But I think that's a reason why I didn't really pursue the book while I was building my real estate career, because I think that is what society kind of teaches us is, make money, pursue your career, maybe climb the corporate ladder, like some of that stuff. And I think especially with women, we're not encouraged to pursue multiple things at one time. So I do feel like that is something that's kind of out there in society. And I think even in the past few years, as I was trying to build my podcast and with kind of reigniting my passion for the book, I did start to try to explore topics out there about, okay, how do I am passionate about multiple things. I'm not just going to give up on my real estate business because I love real estate too. So how do I balance all this? And I don't feel like I ever really found too many people that would talk about it. I will say, I think Jasmine Starr comes to mind of someone who is out there as a prominent person who's a business coach, strategist, and all that. She has a podcast. She's someone who I did find that was talking about it, but I just didn't really find many people talking about it. So that tells me that there's kind of a gap there. And that's why I'm excited to talk about that today, because I think it's possible.
Yeah, so awesome. I think it really is so important for so many of us creative entrepreneurs, where we're told to just niche down, and that can feel like a slow death.
Yeah.
And it's helpful advice sometimes, but not always. And it also, like, we don't have to limit ourselves to doing just one thing, even if we are not doing everything all at exactly the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's easy as humans to get into that dichotomy where it's an all or nothing mindset.
Yeah.
And that's just not how the universe works. It's not. Yeah. So when we can remember that, it helps us break through some of that and go, okay, well, I can have different focuses and intentions. I just need to have clarity around what those are so I can prioritize my time accordingly.
Yeah. And so how did you like actually end up deciding to pursue these multiple paths? Did you get support? Like, was your family supportive? Was there other communities that came in and helped you figure it out? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with my business coach. I started working with a business coach in 2019. And I am a huge fan of coaching, and not even, you don't have to necessarily, have a traditional coach that you pay for that and you do that every week. Even just having a mentor, a friend that can be an accountability partner, you really need someone in your life that can speak to those things that we can't see. We get in our own heads, in our own ways with stuff. Specifically with the business coach, they're trained to help us walk through some of those mindset, things and help us create strategy. So that was really impactful for me. And he helped me realize, hey, I'm at the center of all of these things that I'm passionate about. I'm the piece that's the synergy. And so if I'm not filling myself up, then I can't give myself to any of these areas in my life in the best way. I can't serve clients in the best way. I can't serve my family in the best way, be a good friend, all of that stuff. So I think just remembering that it's not all or nothing. We can be multi-passionate as long as you remember kind of what that centerpiece is, and it really comes back to us.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good point. And I found for myself too, it's like when I'm doing what I love, it really fuels me. It energizes me when I've set it up in the way that, it's not just hot mess chaos doing 1,000 things a day, but it's like I'm intentionally pursuing what I'm called to.
Yes. And intention's the key word there. Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. So how do you actually create, we won't say balance, but synergy between all of the things that you're passionate about and really grow a successful brand when you have, kind of multiple pieces going?
Yeah, I think it does come back to intentions. So you need to be very, very clear on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that a lot of times people don't sit down and create that time in their schedules where they are really thinking through what's important to them, what are their goals, what are their priorities. And it really just comes down to what are you committed to? Because whenever you're committed to something, then you're going to make sure you get it done no matter what obstacles come your way. So taking time to sit down and think through and reflect, what's the most important to me? What are these priorities? Get really clear on that. And then that's going to help you. What I would suggest is time blocking. I think that can be a very practical way to accomplish that, because then you can put things in your calendar based on what those priorities are. And you don't have to worry about all the other stuff, because again, we get into that like, oh my God, I got to do everything. And, I struggle with that too. It's not like I've not arrived. I can assure you of that. But whenever I start feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh, I got all these things to do, it just helps me to stop, breathe, meditate. And then I calm my nervous system down, and then I can think again. And then I remember, oh, okay, these 5 things were the things that are the priorities that I set for myself for this month or this quarter. So I'm going to focus on those. And when I get done with those, then I can go back to all this to-do list stuff that's sitting there.
Yeah, really great advice. And I'm wondering for like longer term projects, so like something like your book, where that was a very long term, ended up being very long term goal. How do you, how do you stay focused and come back and, also make sure that like those kind of bigger dreams that we have don't just get put on the back burner forever?
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone needs to kind of figure out what their why is, like what's that greater greater purpose,
Hmm.
that passion, because that will fuel you to keep going. And then you can kind of always have that as like a reference point. You know, we've said this before with a North Star, you know, that's a good terminology for your why. When you have that why, it's your North Star, and you can put everything up against that to figure out, okay, does it make sense that I'm spending time on this, or is it taking away from what I'm ultimately trying to accomplish? So I think you really have to have that greater vision for your life, but at the same time, you can't be attached to that outcome, which is I think it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you keep practicing that mindset, it'll get easier and easier. So having that long-term vision, that meaningful mission, that overarching why, North Star, but not being attached to the results. And so when you do that, then you're able to figure out what are those action items that are going to be the priorities where you can make progress every day versus feeling like you have to, achieve some monumental task. It's like those bite-sized pieces and you're making progress every day.
Yes. That's really great insights. And I'd love to hear from everyone. If you can pop into the chat box and share, if you want to share what your North Star is, if you feel like you're clear on what that is, I'd love to hear that. But also where you'd like to be in 1 year from now, right? So if we're thinking ahead, taking time to, think ahead to the future and again, prioritize those kind of big goals, big dreams. Share with us if you're comfortable where you'd like to be 1 year from now. Go ahead and pop that in the chat box. And we're going to keep chatting away here, but thank you for everyone who's participating over there. I see Ruth also popped in that she's passionate about empowering couples through creative photos that tell and preserve their story. So beautiful. And Sherry, originally from Colorado, but moved to St. Pete. Awesome. Passionate about family, friends, photography, and traveling. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of creative folks here, of course, and obviously a lot of us multi-passionates. Oh, and Heather, traveling through Italy is where I'd like to be 1 year from now. Yes. Put that on my bucket list.
Awesome. Yeah.
My sister actually just flew to Italy today for a vacation. So maybe that can be us next year, Heather. Okay, so Brittany, back to you. Talking about mindset, because that is such a big piece of entrepreneurship and not just like staying in it, but also enjoying the ride when it's not necessarily easy. How do you manage the mindset of like, I'm okay, even though I'm uncomfortable and I'm pursuing lots of things and I'm building a business, right? Like when there's a lot going on and it's not necessarily guaranteed, right? We're not necessarily on like that one straight and narrow path. How do you manage your mindset around, being an entrepreneur, being a risk taker and pursuing all of these different things?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. So, it takes a lot of that mindset work, I think, is the hardest. And so a lot of people don't invest the time to do that. So we can easily get caught up in take action, which is great. So you have to take action, but you can't forget about the mindset piece, because if you don't address some of that negative self-talk and all of that, you're going to end up self-sabotaging. Your imposter syndrome and, negative thoughts are going to creep in and it's going to stop you from making progress. So I think that is really, really important piece. For me, I committed to doing a morning routine, probably been about, I would say like three or so years ago, where I spend time every morning saying what I'm grateful for and practicing visualization of some of these things I'm trying to accomplish, using affirmations to reinforce that positive language, and which helps me if I am battling, imposter syndrome or things like that. It helps kind of rewire my brain around those things, because it's all the stories that we tell ourselves. So spending time, and I would recommend doing it in the morning because that's before your day gets going and you get distracted by a million things. So setting up your day right from the get-go by practicing gratitude and getting yourself in that positive frame of mind. And then as obstacles come throughout the day, it's going to help you, stay above the fray. So, our emotions can kind of do this like a roller coaster ride. So the more you practice it, the more you can stay very even in that neutral zone where you're not going way over the edge with something like a positive thing that happened, and you're not going way down below when something negative happens, like, for example, with real estate, if I have a contract that cancels, that's obviously feels very negative. But when I practice that, it helps me not get into scarcity mindset, but stay in abundance mindset. And it's a muscle. It's just the more you build it, it's that muscle memory, and just kind of it takes you less time to snap back the more that you do it. And so I think it's sometimes a struggle with these things because we want results immediately, American society with instant gratification and all that stuff. So just, giving yourself grace that it takes time to build up these muscles and reprogram your brain to stay in a positive state.
Totally. You are speaking my language. I feel like mindset work is really the work of being an entrepreneur. It's like just getting yourself right every day.
The mind is a scary place to be.
Yeah. And, it's so true. Like I was just writing an email last night about how entrepreneurship is really such a mixed bag, right? Business owning is a mixed bag. And so even though we might want it to be all glamour and ease and, success, like it's going to be a mixed bag. So having that kind of mindset practice, that gratitude practice built in really is a game changer.
Yeah, it's absolutely changed my life. So I highly recommend setting a morning routine for sure.
Yeah. And for you, how do I want to ask this? Can you talk a little bit about abundance mindset and what that means to you? Because you did mention that, and I know that, we kind of have to like balance our positivity. So it's not like we're gaslighting ourselves,
Yeah.
but how to, be positive, and like, where does that abundance mindset play in for you, especially as you are, like you have your book going, you have your real estate business, you have your podcast, right? Like there's probably things that are happening at different kind of levels of
Yes.
progress and success. So where does that abundance mindset play in for you?
Yeah, I think I will reference back to what I said earlier about creating that long-term vision. Like when you are multi-passionate, you've got some of these different things that you're pursuing. I think it kind of culminates to that personal brand and asking yourself, who do I need to become to achieve these things? And so I think it goes back to creating that long-term vision and detaching yourself from the outcome. So when you detach yourself from the outcome, it does help you stay in that abundance mindset, because really at the end of the day, if you don't quit, you can't lose. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you just keep making progress every day, your success will become inevitable. And again, that goes back to having that patience of just keep going, keep putting the work in. And I think having a mindset of gratitude is what helps me stay in that abundance mindset. And because, when we spend time thinking of things that we're grateful for, then it puts everything into a better perspective. So, I'll share an example from my life from recently. A lot of people know that one of our golden retrievers, Parker, he had hip surgery recently, and unfortunately, he had complications where he had to have hip surgery twice back to back. So it's been a crazy time with all of that, and obviously, there's a lot of emotions going with that because we don't have kids, so they're like our kids.
Yeah.
So I was really struggling when we found out he had to have the surgery the second time. I was very much struggling emotionally. And when I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to practice some gratitude right now. And I just started rattling off a bunch of things like, I'm grateful that we have the financial means to be able to perform this surgery and do all these things. I'm grateful I have a husband who is such an amazing support system. I'm grateful that Parker has great health despite this one thing. So it's stuff like that. If you can, when you're feeling really negative about a situation, if you can stop and try to think of things that you're grateful for, because I promise you that you can, it's going to bring you back like above the line and help you think of, let's see, I'll put it this way. It gets you out of problem mode and gets you into solution mode.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's so true. And it's one of those things that's so simple, right? It's free. You can do it anytime. Use that gratitude, and it really does shift the mind and shift the energy around things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's sharing in the chat right now about your goals for next year. I love them. Keep them coming. So many big, beautiful goals and dreams here. We'll check in 1 year from today. We'll see where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay. And Brittany, can you tell us a little bit about, you mentioned time blocking, but how do you prioritize your time and kind of manage your time so that you're able to make progress on all these different things? Because I know for myself, like, it can be overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, there are so many things I'm trying to do. And I also need to take care of me. I also want to have a life. So how do you manage your time?
Yeah, I go by the saying, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. So if something's important to you, you better put it in your calendar. And what's helped me is I do break things down by quarters. So I do quarterly goal planning, which I'm actually in the middle of it for fourth quarter right now. So, I have an overarching kind of theme or goal for the year, but by breaking it down into quarters, then again, it's getting into those bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to, you can't focus on a million things like we've already said. So I will set a few intentions for these different things, like with real estate, with the book, with my podcasts. And then I create time blocks around those things. So again, it's me getting super clear. And when I think about it from a quarterly perspective, it's like, okay, I've got 3 months where I can really focus heavily on making progress in these particular areas. And if you do that, when you reflect back, you're going to see that you made so much more progress versus if you had just, tried to do a million different things. And then once you reassess afterwards, then for the next quarter, you can change some of those focuses. So that way you're really moving the needle forward in a bunch of different areas in your life. So it goes back to asking that question, what are you committed to? Because those are the things that you're gonna be non-negotiable, that you're gonna put in your calendar, and you're not gonna let other things get in the way. Because if you don't own your time, someone's gonna try to steal it from you or something. And they usually succeed if you don't have those, that discipline in place.
Totally. Yes. Easier said than done, having those strong no's.
Yeah. It's all a work in progress.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I love what you're saying about that. And having quarterly goals, I think, is also very helpful for a lot of people, because sometimes when we do look at a whole year ahead, that can be a lot, but it's like, okay, the next 3 months, 90 days, you can break that down and really prioritize. So I love that advice. All right. And we're going to take a quick break to do a giveaway for the gift card. So if you can pop into the chat what your biggest takeaway has been so far from the wonderful Brittany and all the wisdom that she's been dropping. Share with us your biggest takeaway, and you will be entered to win a gift card to your favorite coffee or tea shop. We'll give everyone a moment to do that, and then we'll continue on, and then we will get to questions. So if you have questions, get them ready, and we'll make sure that you have plenty of time to ask Brittany for all of her wonderful advice and guidance. Okay, Heather says, biggest takeaway, the need for time blocking. Yeah, that's a big one for people. Yeah, Chanel says, if you don't claim your own time / energy, someone else will. Truth. Nicole says this, if it isn't on your calendar, it doesn't exist. Yeah. And abundance mindset is key. Yeah. Those are really such good points that Brittany brought up. And remembering to do time blocking. Yes, totally. Yeah, it's all these things too, where you probably have heard them before, but you know what? It's really helpful to hear it again. Yeah. And sometimes we need the reminder. We need other people showing us, like Brittany is like, hey, it is possible. You can do it. You can stick with it. You can prioritize your time. You can time block. You can pursue multiple goals. It's just so inspiring to, hear from someone who's doing it. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I've been meaning to do that. Let me put it on my calendar. I'm going to freaking do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it just takes hearing it everyone that speaks about something is going to say it differently than the next person. So sometimes it just takes hearing it from someone in a particular way where it finally sticks with you. So.
Exactly. And Brittany, do you have tools that you recommend for staying organized?
Yeah, I use my calendar, in my phone, and I like to use whiteboards as well. So I kind of do a paper and a digital kind of combination, because I find that a whiteboard in my office helps it stay in front of me more. And then if it's in my calendar, then I am looking at scheduling appointments and things, and I'm not going to overlook it. And I love Google Drive. So, using Google Docs and Google Sheets to keep journals and, write out quarterly planning and that kind of stuff, because it's really easy to reference back when you're trying to, maybe set a new plan, for the next quarter. And I started using Airtable this year, which was Gina. I know Gina uses, so I got it from her, and it's the free plan works for me. So I started using Airtable, and I find that it helps keep all my ideas and stuff organized. Because I think that's the thing is I always have lots of ideas.
Yeah.
It's they're just coming from all over the place. So that way I can quickly jot it down, and then I know I don't lose it. So that's the stuff that's worked for me. But I think, just experiment, because I've experimented with a lot of different softwares and tools, and not everything works. So just kind of keep trying something until it works for you.
Yeah. I love that. All our brains work differently. I'm a big paper person, but I love a good whiteboard as well. And then I have all my digital calendars as well. So a little bit of everything, but yeah, finding what works for you. There's no wrong way. And there's so many good tools and systems out there. It's sometimes you just got to play around a bit before you find your perfect setup.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sure. And do you have recommendations for any other books or podcasts that you love and would recommend for others to stay inspired and keep growing their multi-passionate life and business?
Yeah, I mentioned Jasmine Star earlier, so I would highly recommend her podcast. She's amazing. She's someone who will give you that loving kick in the pants when you need it. So if you like some of that tough love, she's great for that, as well as she's great for just strategies and business and things like that. I will say I just started a new podcast, more so tied to kind of my journey as an author, and it's called Be Your Own Hero. So my goal with that podcast is to discuss these kind of topics around mindset and entrepreneurship, and then have guests on and talk about that stuff too. So I have 2 episodes published. So if you want to follow that one as well, hopefully you can learn some good insights. And books, I would say The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acker, or Aker. I think it's Acker. he talks a lot about positive psychology, and that's like, he's an expert in that. I actually saw him speak at a real estate conference this year. It was amazing. But I would highly recommend his book, because if you want to learn more about gratitude and the scientific way, like how our brains work with that, that would be awesome. Because what he teaches is when you practice gratitude, so specifically thinking of three new things that you're grateful for every day, it's the new things that your brain has to scan for. That's how our brain actually gets rewired to stay in a more positive state. So I think that would be a really great book for everyone to check out. And then habit related and time blocking, I would say Atomic Habits by James Clear, and which a lot of people know, and then The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Those would be really good for that topic.
Awesome. Great recommendations. Yeah, we'll make sure to keep track of those and maybe send them out in the follow-up email so everyone can go and find them.
Yeah, I could go on and on forever with books and things, so we won't do that.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Brittany, do you want to share anything else before we open things up for questions?
I think we hit a lot of good points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that feels good. And then
okay,
the questions we can answer.
All right. So we are open for question time. If you can pop into the chat, or I guess you can unmute yourself if that's easier. Whatever's comfortable for you, and ask away. We have Brittany here until 1 o'clock, so lots of time to have some more good discussion. So if you've got a question, feel free to pop it in the chat and I can read it out. Or if you just want to unmute, you can feel free to do that as well. Oh yeah, so I see the question about the podcast over here. So we're gonna pop that information in for you so you can find the podcast. Brittany, do you want to say the name of your podcast one more time?
Yeah, it's Be Your Own Hero. And it is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google, and my YouTube channel. So you should be able to easily find it.
Okay, beautiful. All right, I'm going to give people another moment in case you're typing into the chat here. Okay, great.
Yeah, I see one there.
Oh, you see one? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm supposed to be reading them.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Chanel, thank you for that question. So she asked, how did/do you overcome the pressure and guilt of pursuing more than one thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, this is, things that I still struggle with, but I think just getting really, really confident and sure of yourself. So I just feel like over time I have learned to care less about what other people think. And, society wants to put us in a box, and just getting really confident in what matters most to me, figuring out what that why is, and then I can really just have any decision point I come across, I can reference back to what that why is, and it's going to help me figure out, okay, am I self-sabotaging myself here because I'm not moving in this direction? Am I having a fear of failure, a fear of success stop me from pursuing something? So having that why really helps me kind of reference back to that and get out of that funk of caring what people think. And again, it gives me clarity around, these are the things that are important to me, and I'm just gonna go forward. I don't care what anyone else says. And I think at the end of the day, just you'll figure it out. Just if you keep moving forward, you're gonna figure it out, and you can always pivot and adapt. Nothing's ever permanent. I used to struggle with that a lot when I made decisions in business. And it's like, no, nothing's ever permanent. You can always change and adapt.
Beautiful. Yeah. And Nicole's asking, how have your different passions overlapped in a positive way since you started talking openly about all of them? Do your real estate clients plan to buy your book? Do you have real estate clients on your podcast? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, that has been interesting to see because I wasn't sure how that was going to go. And I think the support that I have received back from my clients and from real estate agents that I have, relationships with from around the country has been amazing. And I think it's just a reminder of we're all human and everyone wants to connect with someone who is an actual human, and is their authentic self because we're going to attract like-minded people to us. So whenever you're open and authentic with those passions, then you're going to attract those people back to you. And I think I've had so many interesting conversations where I have opened myself up and started talking about my book with clients or other realtors. And immediately I hear things like, oh my gosh, yeah, well, I actually wanted to write a book and XYZ, or I used to be, an actor and I wanted to pursue that again. I mean, it just starts to open up all these things, and you never would have had those conversations if you weren't willing to share. So I think that's just a testament to being your authentic self and not shying away from talking about those things that you're passionate about, because you're going to attract those people back to you. So we're all human. We're all multifaceted. That's the way that we were created.
Yes, that's so true. And even when we're in a certain industry or niche, like I think sometimes you can feel like, oh, I'm the weird one because I like do these other things or I like other things. It's like, no, everyone everyone has multiple interests and passions, and it just creates such deeper connections when you open up and share and then give other people permission to like be their full self.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that part is actually my why. My why is to inspire others to be brave and become the heroes of their own stories. So by me sharing this stuff, I am hopefully inspiring other people to pursue their passions. And that's what, gets me up in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Nicole says you are. You're doing it right now. You're inspiring all of us. And Brittany, do you want to share? I mean, people are, keep putting questions in the chat, but Brittany, do you want to share a little bit about what your book is actually about?
Oh, sure. So the book is Lion of Fire. It's book 1 in my new adult fantasy series, Riley Jordan and the Fire Prophecies. Comes out on October 4th with St. Petersburg Press. And the premise is that Riley Jordan is a college senior who thinks he's going to graduate college and amount to nothing when he finds out that he is the most dangerous wizard in the world. He has a vision of someone trying to destroy all of humankind, and the human girl that he just met by chance is in the vision. So now him and his friends have to portal hop all over the magical realms to figure out what's going on, who's behind this, and why is this girl involved.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. That's so awesome. Yeah, like what a different I imagine like getting to play in that kind of world of like fiction and fantasy and magic is such a different experience too from like going out and selling houses, right? So it must be so fun for you.
Yeah, it is. But then at the same time, it just reminds me to use my creativity in my real estate business. So I get to, make fun content, make fun videos, when I'm showcasing my listings, the type of videos that I can create. So using creativity in that way, it's definitely, I feel like it's kind of reignited my passion for being creative in all aspects.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm sure some of you can relate to that as well, or feel like maybe you haven't been feeling very creative. And it's like, maybe get outside the box, right? Do something that's not even just particularly for your business, but something that's just creative and fulfilling for you and fun. And that inevitably will overflow and inspire you.
Absolutely.
In other ways.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Do we have any other questions here? feel like we covered a lot of things today, so we could talk about mindset stuff. We could talk about, time management. We could talk about goals.
I'll say this while we're waiting. I had this conversation recently with someone about time blocking and kind of prioritizing things in your schedule. I used to very much struggle with the structure that creates, because as a creative, I really enjoy just like being footloose and fancy free and just kind of all over the place. What I realized is that it's really hard to make progress on all those things that you are actually passionate about when you don't create that structure of prioritizing your time. So I fought against it for a while, and my business coach really helped me with this perspective shift. But what I realized is that discipline actually does create freedom. So I think that's something important for everyone to remember. If you're have not been doing time blocking and it's kind of felt like a foreign concept, because it did for me, just try it. Try little things. Again, every little step is a step in the right direction. We don't have to get it all, perfect the first time, which, I mean, you're not going to anyway. So throw out perfection. We're just going to make progress instead. And if you keep building that muscle and that consistency, it's going to get you where you want to go. It, like we said earlier, that path is usually not straight or what we think it's going to be. And the time, it might take longer, but if you don't give up, you can't lose. So,
yeah, totally. And so one thing that's coming up for me, and I know a lot of people can probably relate to this too, is like, how do you deal with the fear of starting something that like you care so much about, you're so excited about, and also you're like, oh my God, what if it doesn't work out?
yeah, I think whenever you're feeling afraid, you're thinking about yourself too much. So you need to stop and remember what that why is, because when you have a why and that North Star that is others focused and not yourself focused, that's going to keep you moving forward. I mean, that's the way I view the world. So I would encourage everyone to think of a why that is others focused instead of yourself, because I think that's going to get you farther in life. So when you are afraid, you're thinking about yourself. So stop and take the time to think about, how is what I'm trying to accomplish going to bring value to someone else? And if I bring value or inspire, make a difference in someone else's life, even just one person, then that's worth it. And again, that goes back to, detaching yourself from the outcome, because we can't control whether or not we do actually impact someone. But if we take the right actions, that success becomes inevitable.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good answer. When you're feeling afraid, you're focused too much on yourself. Really awesome. And Chanel also wants to know, are there more books in your future? Or was the Fire Prophecy series your main dream to get out in the world?
Yeah, it started with the Fire Prophecy series, and I have an outline and I have started on book 2. So there's an outline for 3 books, possibly 4, it just depends on how I get into it. But I do have ideas for other books, more in like a spinoff of this series with some of the characters. So I do feel like I will get there eventually. But yeah, the focus is going to be on the Fire Prophecy series for now.
So awesome. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we can have Brittany share with us where we can find you. And we also have a little special offer today. So Brittany, tell us where everyone can find you and your book, and stay connected.
Yeah. So my website is brittanyranew.com. So if you go there, kind of everything's there. I do have separate Instagram profiles for my real estate and my author page, because there are 2 audiences, even though some people might cross over. So it's Brittany Ranew Realtor and the Brittany Ranew author. And I'm trying to get better about being on TikTok especially with my author page. So you can find me there. And my launch party for the book is at Book and Bottle on the 4th next week. So it is an author happy hours. It's very casual. So come by. They have, their happy hour prices on their wine. So it's from 4 to 6 p.m. and you'll be able to hang out, mix and mingle, get a copy and a signed copy if you would like one. So yeah. That's all. It's a week away. I can't even believe it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's going to be so fun. I wish I was local. I would come and support. But yeah, if you're in St. Pete, definitely put it on your calendar so that you get there next week. Go support Brittany, buy her book, mingle with some other babes.
Yeah, and it's a course online. So if you're not not in the area, you can, buy a copy and it can be delivered to your house. So
perfect. And we'll get to say we knew you before. You got uber famous for all your amazing books.
Oh my goodness.
Brittany, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and insights today. There were so many good nuggets. So highly recommend, we'll send out the replay. Gina will get it out to you all. Definitely come back and, re-listen and take notes if you didn't. And our special offer for today, if you're not already a member of Babe Crafted, which is the best community, you can become a member today and get 50% off your first 3 months, whether you're local or global. So if you're like me, you can do it all online. I've been in this community for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, and it's just the best. And when you join, you get weekly support. We have this awesome Facebook group. You get help with your content, your messaging. You have access to all these amazing women like Brittany. I know Chanel's in the group. I know Sarah's in the group already. Like, it's just such a beautiful, diverse community and really like such nice humans. And Gina puts together the most amazing events, both in person and online, all about helping build your business, guest experts, and really just this beautiful group of women who are cheering you on and helping you grow. So all that information will be in the follow-up email. If you have questions, definitely reach out to Gina and Babe Crafted, but we'd love to have you join us if you are wanting more of this kind of good, delicious community stuff. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Thank you for everyone who's sharing in the chat and asking questions. And thank you again, Brittany, for showing up and sharing all your wisdom. And congrats again on your book. And we can't wait to tune into your podcast as well and just follow you in all the places.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And of course, if anyone, feel free to reach out if you have other questions. Happy to help any way I can. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Everyone have a beautiful Wednesday, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.